A whole lot of lava, from Bologna to the Jungle Circuit Reverse to the Serpentine 8 Loop. 20,000 riders representing 90 nations from all around the world. Some of the biggest nations, the United Kingdom and the USA. But I'm Paul Kay in the RSA, and in the United Kingdom and the UK, Hannah Walker.
Thanks, Paul. Well, this is going to be some exciting racing. 20,000 people took part in at least one stage. 5,000 have done all four stages, and tonight we'll see 800 riders competing against some of the best riders in the world for the Virtual Absa Cape Epic.
"800 riders, that's almost as many as a proper Absa Cape Epic for the Virtual Absa Cape Epic. In your categories A, B, C, and D, well, these are your leaders after four stages in the men's.
And the four riders in the women's from a variety of different nations. When we look at the course, we are on Watopia Serpentine 8, a new course to Zwift, which came out in December 2020. The riders will take on 26.7 kilometers of racing with 239 meters of elevation. The first 7.3 kilometers of the lead-in are downhill on that tarmac section, and then we'll be onto the dirt, wood, and onto the hard section of mountain bike roads. Our riders will go over the bridge road, and we'll see the riders climb up. As you can see, the route will go through the jungle start. The circuit is on clockwise, and they'll go over the rope bridge. They'll descend and turn right onto the mine road bridge and climb out.
Some of the pros you want to be watching out for tonight. Let's look at the women. Well, Ashley Norman-Passio, she started out wanting to be a triathlete, but look at her. And a Commonwealth bronze medalist, the esports world champ, Laura Stigger. Well, she is a world champ, a junior world champ in both mountain bike and road. And Casey Armstrong says if it's smooth, it's fast. Catherine Colin is a former national champion and the Zwift Academy finalist from Denmark. Young Caroline Bohr has been riding bikes since she could walk. And Elizabeth Bruntow, no stranger to the Absa Cape Epic, as well as Sandra Walter, who's from Canada. She's a four-time Canada Series champ. And Sarah Hill, who's won almost everything in South Africa.
Well, we can already get a look at Ashley Norman-Passio in her world champion esports jersey. It looks like the race is already underway. Good to see a South African up
front so early. Well, you can see that Ashley Norman-Passio has done wonderful work of getting used to the world of Watopia. Virtual racing, where we've all been locked up at home, and the only riding we could do was indoors. It's the only way we could ride with friends, but you had to make the coffee yourself. You weren't going to any coffee shops. Ashley Norman-Passio in the rainbow stripes, otherwise she would be wearing the South African national colours as well. As we look at the big bunch now, we can see the Danish flag, the South African flag, the German flag, the Canadian flag. Lovely international bunch of riders here with us, Hannah.
So Ashley Norman-Passio has broken away from this group. We have a Danish there. We also have Hill in this group. But Ashley Norman-Passio really embraced the virtual world during the lockdown, having her own coffee rides every Sunday. As we will take a look at the ones to watch in the men's race coming up.
Well, there's no coffee riding there. And amongst those first 10, all of them have won an Absa Cape Epic. 11 wins between them, 5 for Susie, 5 for Plato. Happy birthday, Carl. And Christian Heineck with 1 win there as well. Then moving along, you've got the likes of Jacques Janssen van Rensburg, Daniel Gain, and Gerhard Kirschbaumer. A roadie with a couple of mountain bike pros, and Daniel with a win in the Absa Cape Epic, the podium in the Absa Cape Epic in 2017. Matt Beers hails from Neisner. That's where the Absa Cape Epic started way back in the day in 2004 with your Grand Tour riders Jan and Kilian Frankini, South Africa and Switzerland. As we now go to the start of the men's race. Well, we're catching up with the women's race again. You can see Casey Armstrong in the bunch there. And with Elizabeth Brandhauer, we've also got, representing Canada, we've got Sandra Walter in the bunch. They're all staying nice and tightly bunched, taking advantage of the draft, are they not, Hannah?
Yeah, they are. It's really important, just as it is in the real world, to make sure you make use of the draft on Zwift. Try and take as much as possible. You want to try and save as much energy for the back end of the race. But these riders can work together, and we will be able to see the start of the men's race. 3 seconds to go until they get underway and prepared for a fast and furious start right now.
Well, I saw the likes of Simon Stibjan there and Martin Fry. We've got a whole bunch of the heroes known to cross-country and marathon racing around the world. The heroes at the Absa Cape Epic, at the Swiss Epic, at the Pioneer, who all make part of the Epic series racing. You can see a lot of them in their national colours. The Danes, well, it might be a flat country. It doesn't look like there's anywhere to ride mountain bike there, but they're so strong as well. Great to have everybody that can get together racing here tonight in the virtual Absa Cape Epic. We're supposed to be racing last year, the 17th edition of the Absa Cape Epic, started back in 2004, but we couldn't due to COVID-19, Hannah, and that's when it kind of all went onto the virtual platform of Zwift, and here we are with a 4-stage race, and this is the final Pro-Am where the professionals are riding stage 4 for the first time, probably, with the amateurs, 800 of them, more than 800, 4th stage.
Well, it's worth noting, Paul, that the community riders, they start 8 minutes ahead of these professional men, so it gives the pro men riders something to chase, but actually it means that the community riders need to organise themselves, try and stay away as long as possible on this 26-kilometre race. Maybe it could just spring a surprise, and could one of those take a victory?
I can see Kalle Friberg from Sweden in the mix there. Hey, Kalle. I'm sure that Lisa Norden is watching as well. You know, riders from 90 nations. That means we've got spectators from way more than 100 nations who are observing it now. About 5% of the riders who have participated over the last 4 stages are now into our Pro-Am representing South Africa, but the overwhelming majority from the United States and from the United Kingdom, which is so good to see. And for a lot of people, Hannah, riding in the real Absa Cape Epic might seem impossible, but here with the virtual Absa Cape Epic, it was available to anybody.
It was, and it makes it inclusive, doesn't it? Anyone from, no matter what age or where you're from, no matter your time zone, you could compete and try and complete a stage of the Absa Cape Epic to try and get yourself into this Pro-Am race. I mean, for many of these riders, this would not be possible, but this platform here, having it virtually, due to the fact we couldn't have the Absa Cape Epic last year, it really does make it inclusive for everyone around the world, and it's fantastic to see so many nations getting involved, and to see our riders also racing tonight.
And one of the strong foundations of the Absa Cape Epic since 2004 has always been the Pro-Am format, where amateurs get to ride shoulder to shoulder with their mountain biking heroes. Same start line, same course, they go through the same aid stations, they get the same medals at the end of the race when we get to the grand finale after 8 incredible days of the African Untamed. And here they are. They might be doing it in the virtual world, but you've got almost 1,000 riders from around the world riding with a huge bunch of some of the best professional road and mountain bikers the planet has ever seen. We've got the likes of Christoph Salzer, Carl Platt, just to name a few, Christian Heineck. I saw Kalle Friberg, as I mentioned, and you see these names, Danny Geismeier, he's there as well. You see the names coming up, and they are flying there at the moment. Absolutely brilliant to see. But, it's all about being connected, about great partners, I tell you. You can see that a lot of people are tuned in at the moment. It really is a massive viewership. Trying to keep an eye on heroes. I wonder if there are any side bets going on. And I wonder how many of our amateur riders right now, Hannah, thinking to themselves, how close can they get to the times of our professional riders over this final stage of 26.5 kilometers?
Definitely. I mean, when you look at what I think the professional riders will complete this course, it would be roughly around 35, 36 minutes. Maybe some of our amateurs will complete the course in around 40 to 45 minutes. So it gives, with them having the head start at 8 o'clock South African time, they have that little buffer, and hopefully, as I said before, if they can get themselves together, work together, use the draft be cohesive together, they can try and get to the finish or as close to the finish before the professionals might catch them. We never know, we could have a surprise winner today.
Well, great visuals there of the men's racing. It looks like we've switched back to a little bit of our women's racing. But let's just talk about some of the differences when you're racing virtually, Hannah. You know, you've got the power-ups, you've got the ability to draft, which is not necessarily that easy on a very, very technical mountain bike course, as we look at the South African champion and the esports world champion, Ashley Moolman-Pasio. Just talk about some of the things specific to a virtual Absa Cape Epic being raced on Zwift.
Well, as you just alluded to, on Zwift, in the virtual world, we have power-ups, and these can be obtained at any of the start-finish banners or any of the Sprint or King of the Mountain or Queen of the Mountain banners. There currently is 4 power-ups available on tonight's race.
We're looking at Ashley Moolman-Pasio at the moment. She's embraced riding indoors. She's embraced the virtual world as we see the Mayan ruins behind her. She climbs and climbs all solo. But let's hear from this South African heroine herself about racing in the virtual world.
Hi, I'm Ashley Moolman-Pasio. I'm the South African champion on the road, and I'm also currently the esports world champion. I wasn't always a big fan of indoor training, but during the COVID pandemic, I became a Zwift convert, and I truly believe that it complements my training, and it's also a great platform for racing. To be able to race competitively on Zwift, you definitely need to train on Zwift. You can't just jump on Zwift and expect to perform because it really is tough racing. And I think it's all about mentality. You need to be willing to suffer when you get on the start line. And I think this compares very well to the Absa Cape Epic because it's a grueling race and you're really going to hit some dark places. So I think there's great comparisons. I'm really excited to see the Absa Cape Epic is going virtual. I think it's a great merge between the real world and the virtual world, especially when it's quite difficult for real life racing to take place. It's also amazing to see what the Absa Cape Epic are doing for women's cycling with their own start batch and equal race distance and prize money. This is very similar to what Zwift has done for women's cycling during and after the COVID pandemic in terms of giving us equality and pushing the sport forward. I hope to be able to be on the start line of the Absa Cape Epic in the real world one day, and I'm also really excited to be part of the virtual Absa Cape Epic.
Well, it's fantastic to hear from the esports world champion Ashley Moolman-Pasio, isn't it? And how she's really embraced this discipline, this platform. Really a legend, a hero within South African cycling and in world cycling, of course, races for SD Works on the road. And I'd certainly love to see her do a Absa Cape Epic in real life as well as the virtual one now, which she is leading, or she is in this group. 6.8 kilometers is covered.
Well, we certainly love to see, and I can tell you all of South Africa would love to see Ashley Moolman-Pasio take on the real Absa Cape Epic. But what a privilege to have her riding the virtual Absa Cape Epic with us. She's been through 7 kilometers, so we thought she was in lead, but in fact, she's a little bit behind at the moment. We're looking at our men's race, and you've got the likes of Stibian Goethals, Casey South, the Swiss rider, in that bunch. It's still a very, very big bunch. Nothing much in it at the moment. Jaco Janse van Rensburg mixing it up with the guys at the moment. So it is nothing in it. Still very, very tight. At least we get to watch them at the moment. Hannah, you saw that we struggled a bit early on. That's just so many people wanting to watch the virtual Absa Cape Epic. But this kind of racing for the riders at home during the COVID pandemic over the last sort of 13, 14, 15 months, for riders in the Northern Hemisphere over their winter who can't get out. Being able to ride on a virtual platform is fantastic. But what makes that happen is fantastic connectivity. And for the Absa Cape Epic, having a brilliant connectivity partner is also so important, because the Absa Cape Epic goes into what's some of the most beautiful yet inaccessible parts of the Western Cape. And there's not always a little plug you can stick your Cat 6 cable in. And then you need people like the guys from Dimension Data. The guys and girls at Dimension Data are phenomenal, where they create connectivity for us anywhere across the Western Cape, so that we can ensure that the Absa Cape Epic is always the world's most viewed and televised mountain bike race. Let's hear from Graham Parker.
Tech has always been a fundamental part of the untamed Absa Cape Epic, and we are proud to be a partner of the Epic. In the real world, we assisted broadcast the participants out in the sticks. We enabled digital race villages, and we brought real-time data to media participants and the public alike. In the virtual world, on the Zwift platform, similarly, we ensured connectivity, collaboration, and real-time data. We are really excited you will get to experience our technology in action.
Well, it is so important, isn't it, to have the support from Dimension Data in the real world for the Absa Cape Epic and in the virtual Absa Cape Epic. But as I was just alluding to before, there are 4 different power-ups in this race that the riders can use. They'll be able to obtain them at the start-finish banners, the Queen of the Mountain and King of the Mountain banners, and the sprint. We have today the Feather, the lightweight, which reduces your weight by 10% for 15 seconds. We also have the Aero power up, which makes you more aerodynamic and reduces your CDA by 25%, so that lasts also for 15 seconds. The riders can use the truck as well, which is perfect for if you want to draft within that group. That will last for 30 seconds. And then we have the one that will increase your XP by 10, and that of course move you up into your Zwift levels. But perhaps here riders will definitely be looking to use or want to obtain the lightweight Feather power up, the Aero power up, or the Draft power up. Of course, all of these power ups are random. The riders cannot choose any of these power ups. They are just chosen at random, and no riders within the race can actually see what an opponent has. So it's all a secret, and riders can use them at any point in the race.
Lovely to see a little insert there of Sarah Hill. I mean, this young lady just loves the long, hard, tough stage races. The Midbowl 100 miler first there. Joburg Classic taking the win there as well. Sabi Experience, the Cape Pioneer, Transbavians, Joburg to Sea in 2019, winning all those races, smashing close to 300 watts. And you saw she actually jumped out of the saddle there to keep that power down, because whatever you do, you don't want to lose the bunch, as I understand it, because if you stop, if you look over your shoulder, if you lazily grab for a bottle, you could very well lose this tight little bunch that they're going at the moment. But Sarah Hill riding like a champion, and I know that most of South Africa on the edge of their seats at the moment as we look at Swiss hero, 5-time Absa Cape Epic champion, Olympian, Christoph Sauser, long-time friend of South Africa, also started the Songo'd Info charity. He's coffee at the moment with the Horizonte coffee that he's got going, and he's smashing close to 350 watts at the moment, so a little bit more than 5 watts per kilogram. And he's trying to catch up to me with the gray hair. He's into his 40s already, but doing a lovely job here with the bunch. Maria Sanch, Becking, Martin Fry, and Daniel Giesmeyer. These are the guys who are kind of mixing it up, and the rest of them, I would imagine, are kind of saving themselves for a little bit later in the stage.
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone will be looking to Sauser, such a champion and legend of the Absa Cape Epic. But Sauser just keeping himself close on the wheel of the rider in front of him, making use of that draft. But they're starting to pick riders off as well, so that's great for them. That's great for their morale. It's great that they know they're passing some of the riders. It looks like a couple of these riders are from the community. But Sauser just losing the wheel there. And as you were just saying, Paul, that once you start to lose the wheel in Zwift, it's extremely hard to close that gap. It's not like in the real world where you can immediately close the gap or come back. The draft effect is very, very strong within the virtual world of Zwift. Sauser has now a companion
Casey South, Simon Stibyung, we're looking at them at the moment. I just wanted to ask you, Hannah, you know, in the real world, you've got slippy conditions, rocky conditions, muddy, wet, extremely dry, sometimes sandy, you lose grip. What is it like now? Because all these riders are on controllable trainers. So Zwift can make it slip a bit. They change the gradient. This is not just like riding on the road and just turning the pedals, is it? It really is almost like riding off-road.
It certainly is. Well, the first obvious difference and change is the technicality of the race. Of course, in the real world for the Absa Cape Epic, you have to deal with the terrain, the technical sections, the rocky sections. However, on Zwift, you're having to deal with the fact you need to keep your ventilation, keep your core body temperature as cool as possible. Make sure you're hydrated, because as we know, when you're riding indoors, you sweat an awful lot. For these riders as well, of course, you don't know when you're racing in the real world, you can feel the riders around you, but in the virtual world, you're having to make sure you concentrate on your companion app, make sure you're looking at around to the riders around you, and take a look at the leaderboard at the right hand side of the screen, just to see where your opponents are as well. So there's a few differences, but there's some points of the virtual racing and in real life racing which are very, very similar.
Now, I was looking at on social media. Carl Platt is a 5-time Absa Cape Epic champion. He had quite a nice setup going. He had a big fan. He had his laptop, put on a whole bunch of beer crates, which I think is his motivation to make sure that he gets through this tough stage. I've heard that when they're going over this bridge, it can get quite slippy, and even their smart trainers will sort of lose grips, lose traction a little bit. But it's not just turning those pedals. You've got to work so hard, and staying in that bunch is extremely difficult in the virtual world. In the real world, it's a little bit easier to guess how far away from you. A little bit easier to freewheel when you need to, but in the real world. But in the virtual world, I sense there's absolutely no freewheeling whatsoever. Now, the Absa Cape Epic has always worked very, very hard to develop mountain biking, to grow mountain biking, and has done a huge job of growing mountain biking in South Africa, on the African continent, and has become the world's premier mountain bike race. It's an HC race, always category. But the Absa Cape Epic also works very, very hard with its partners to develop mountain bike racing in southern continent. We've got quite a few of those riders who have developed through the ranks. Partnership that the Absa Cape Epic has with Exxaro, and very soon we hope to showcase some of those Exxaro riders. I mean, it's one of the few, I think the only mountain bike race on the planet with a development category that the riders race for that Exxaro jersey. I know we've got a lot of those Exxaro riders who are racing with us here today at the Virtual Absa Cape Epic. But why don't we see all the work that the Absa Cape Epic does with its development partner Exxaro.
Introduced in 2012 when the first Exxaro development riders joined the race, this race within a race can change a rider's life forever. Competitors for this jersey has mushroomed. In 2019, the winning team of Tsepo Tlo and Lucky Mlangeni placed a very respectable 52nd in the men's category, a true success story of the Exxaro Development Academy.
Well, how wonderful is that they're championing the next generation of races within south of Africa. Really wonderful what Exxaro is doing, and giving that platform for these riders to really have a taste of the Absa Cape Epic.
Well, you know, you see what the Absa Cape Epic did, Hannah, with women's racing. You know, equal prize money. They race exactly the same course. They race the same distances. They get their own start, have their own race, and likewise helping develop women's racing and mountain biking. And we've seen with the caliber of racing we have at the Absa Cape Epic in the UCI women's category, and likewise in our development category partnered by Exxaro. Always great to see how events take it upon themselves to go out there and accelerate development of the sport by creating heroes, by creating men's heroes, women's heroes, and development heroes. This is how we inspire the next generation of riders to come through. I'm sure you've had your fair share of riders that you followed who inspired you to your professional cycling career.
Yeah, it certainly did, and it's great, isn't it, that you can have these riders on a platform, both now in the Absa Cape Epic in real life, but also now virtually, that we can show, and a lot of people watching from home can be inspired by the racing we're watching right now, to see the riders from all across the world competing together from all different walks of life. So it really is a fantastic platform. As you say, the Absa Cape Epic are doing everything with the prize money, the starts and everything is equal for the women as it is for the men, and likewise on Zwift, the riders today competing across the same course, the same distance, and it really is, it's wonderful to see.
Flat out flat box racing from our women's category, and you're looking at that leaderboard there. Brandau representing Germany. Boyer, the young Dane, is absolutely flying. She's just joining us on screen now. A little bit of a downhill. The watch sitting around about 200 at the moment, as they also take a bit of an advantage of the draft. South Africa's Catherine Colin is in that mix. South Africa's Sarah Hill right there as well. Sandra Walter representing Canada. They're kind of like in that bunch, including the young Austrian Laura Stigger, who's one of the few riders to have become road and mountain bike champion in the same year, junior road, junior mountain bike champion in the same year, actually a couple of weeks apart. They're all in that nice tight little bunch, taking turns in the front, watching each other very, very carefully. And Ashley Moolman-Pasio just dropped off the pace a little bit, but we know she's got the legs, she's got the power. An Olympian from Rio, the bronze medalist from the Commonwealth Games, and of course eSports world champion, hence the rainbow stripes.
I'm just wondering if the world champion Ashley Moolman-Pasio has actually had a virtual technical problem, because she was leading the race just earlier on and is slowly covering the kilometers at the moment.
You can have technical problems, can't you? I mean, even on a trainer, you can get a chain stuck. You might not be changing properly. It's sitting between the cogs at the back. You know, these things happen. It's not just a virtual technical you can have a real life technical. But you know that all of these community riders here, so, you know, the riders that did all 4 stages, they're all going to a draw for something incredible. And I reckon, Hannah, you wouldn't mind getting your hands on this machine as well. And you'd want it in the real world, not just the virtual world, because a lot of the riders are riding these custom painted bikes in the virtual world here in our Virtual Absa Cape Epic on Zwift. But look at this machine, the custom painted Scott Spark RC with AXS. This is an absolute beauty. It's got that hint of Africa in it, with the sort of the zebra stripes, with sort of a cheetah type color to it, with that yellow, black and red. Stunning indeed. 200,000 South African rands, which is about 14,000 US dollars, about 10,000 pounds. How about getting your hands on that, Hannah?
Well, I would certainly love a bike like that. It really is stunning, and cool that the riders can have it in the virtual world, but even better for one lucky winner who's completed all 4 stages, and they will get to have their hands on that bike in real life. I mean, what a stunning paint job. Cool, and hopefully maybe one day they can take it to the Absa Cape Epic coming up.
We're getting close to 23 minutes of racing. We got just less than 10 kilometers to go. This is your lead bunch, still nicely packed there. You're looking at the leaderboard on your right-hand side. Those big names there, the likes of Casey South at the Swiss Epic and the Cape Epic. He's always a contender. Daniel Geismeyer knows how to do this kind of racing. Franchini comes from very much the Grand Tour road scene, and here in the Virtual Absa Cape Epic. All the names that we were looking for, but a couple of the big ones are missing. We know that Christoph Sauers is missing. We know that Christian Heineck's missing from that big leaderboard there at the moment. We know that the likes of Karl Platt is missing, but young Simon Stibjan is in the mix there as well. So the men's leaderboard looking good. It's tight. There's nothing in it. And 9 kilometers of racing yet to go. They've been going flat box, 300 plus watts. Promise you there's probably a pool of sweat around their bicycles in their pain caves at the moment. Well, it's technical in the real world, it's technical in the virtual world as well. Let's check out our friends from Land Rover.
The Land Rover technical terrain is synonymous with pushing the Absa Cape Epic riders to their limits. With the evolution of the playing field, join me, Ollie Munich, in the Virtual Absa Cape Epic on Zwift. Let's rock and roll. The virtual Land Rover technical terrain is not to be underestimated. With the slippery planks, you don't want to lose traction on the rear wheel. You might spin out and be forced to dismount. Never a good thing in the Absa Cape Epic. A trailside mechanical pales in comparison to the anguish and frustration of a digital puncture. Bombing a tire, it's like trying to find bandwidth when you just don't have any. I'm looking for LTE, but all I got is edge. That's a wrap. I'm tapping out.
Well, it's worth noting that some of these community riders within this race tonight, they did compete on this course for Stage 4, so they already got a taste of what to expect for tonight's race, for the Virtual Absa Cape Epic. And I think a lot of these riders, both including the professionals, will have ridden the route to see what to expect, how they can attack the course. As we know, preparation is key for riders to know the course like the back of their hand, know the points on the route where they can take a little bit of respite. As we know, if the course or the gradient of the course is less than 3%, that riders can go into the super tuck. And if they're going over 58 kilometers per hour or 36 miles per hour, if depending on where you are in the world. And as long as you're pushing less than 11 watts, that is your only point to be able to have a little bit of respite. I would suggest, especially on the descent down to the Mayan Bridge. Don't know about you, Paul, but this racing is looking extremely hard as this group really is pushing on now. 19.8 kilometers covered, 7.2 kilometers remaining, and we are climbing. It doesn't look like it right now. But these riders will have a bit between the teeth, as you say. A pool of sweat will be gathering underneath their bike.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of cleaning up to do after the Virtual Absa Cape Epic. And you'll see a lot of them passing those community riders who started quite a bit before them. Martin Fry is in the mix in Schwarz-Rot Gold and the colors of Germany as they pass those community riders. Almost 1,000 of them riding with us as they repeat the fourth stage. The Serpentine 8 brought to you by Assos. Martin Fry in view now, over 400 watts. Look at that. He's pushing a cadence in excess of 100. And, well, we can't see his heart rate. He's keeping that a secret. But moving. You know, you said that they were climbing, but he's climbing at over 30 kilometers an hour. This is hard work now. You do not want to lose this bunch. Maria Sank, Casey South, Danny Geismar, Hansbeck and Martin Fry, Boerter for South Africa, De Toy, Skuurmans, Baumann, Stibian. They've been doing all that work. Those are the top 8 who've been doing a lot of work at the front here. And are the other riders, I mean, Hannah, is it like on the road? Can you be smart? Can you stay at the back of those 8 guys in front and save a couple of watts for those last couple of kilometers?
You certainly can, but this is a real dangerous moment right now. As we said, the riders are climbing right now, and they're going at 36 kilometers per hour. This is the danger point, that when they're catching some of the riders, the community riders out in front, not to lose sight of actually where is the lead of the race. You don't want to ease up at this moment to stay at the back of the group to make the most of the draft effect on Zwift, but then actually you lose the front of the race because you didn't realize that there was one rider that you've caught. So you have to, this is a point on the race where you really have to have your wits about you. With 6 kilometers to go, you don't want to be making those big efforts if you do start to lose the wheel as well, or momentarily just lose concentration. But it looks like this group, looks like around 15 riders, has got through the community riders nice and tightly, and we start to see a little bit of pushing on from Maria and South here, and again catching more and more riders. So really is a moment to make sure you have your wits about you. Bowman here in the centre, who is highlighted in the Absa Cape Epic jersey.
I get a sense that our Northern Hemisphere riders, the riders that have those horrendous winters, they're better suited to the virtual world because they have been doing so much indoor training. Whereas, you know, the South Africans, the Kiwis, the Aussies, maybe some of the South Americans, where we're used to a lot of really, really good weather and pretty much warm weather all year round, we avoid training indoors, and it's COVID that forced us indoors. And what are your thoughts on that? Because we're seeing a lot of the Euro flags and the Northern Hemisphere flags in that front bunch.
We certainly are. I think indoor training for the Northern Hemisphere has always been something that's normal, especially during the winter when it's difficult to go outside because of the weather conditions. However, I think during the COVID-19 pandemic, Zwift and virtual racing was a real saviour for all riders, no matter whether you are racing or whether you are training. So I think it's a fantastic platform, but of course very, very different. The more you ride on Zwift as well, you get to know the nuances as well of how to ride on it, where at what points on the courses you can save energy, you can sit in the bunch, and also where you can attack. As we see our leader in the men's race from Trinity Racing, he has 14 seconds lead.
Turner from Trinity Racing is absolutely destroying the bunch at the moment. That lead's probably growing. He's going into the final 4 kilometers. This is incredible stuff. Trinity Racing's Turner, and turning that little right-hand corner. And if you look back, all you see is dust. He's putting a lot of real estate between himself and that big bunch as we move to our women's race. And this is Denmark's little Denmark's core here. Caroline Boyer, should I say. I wonder if she considers Anneke Langvall, who is a multiple winner of the Absa Cape Epic and the Swiss Epic, considers her to be a big inspiration. I know that Boyer has been riding bikes ever since she could walk, and realized that she was actually very, very good at it, and has got some really good accomplishments already in her very, very young days on the bicycle. Leading at the moment, Elisabeth Brandau in the lead, representing Germany. Just 2 riders with her there, trying to edge out just a bit of a gap. Nice work from Elisabeth Brandau. No stranger to the Western Cape, no stranger to Cape Town, and a huge fan of the 8 stages of the African Untamed. October this year, the 17th edition will happen. We couldn't have it in 2020, had to cancel the race at the very, very, very last minute. But that is where, Hannah, we kind of discovered that, well, we could race virtually, and got into the Zwift platform, and where the nucleus was born for what is now the virtual Absa Cape Epic that we're witnessing at the moment. Our professionals and our amateurs racing together. Elisabeth Brandau leading Denmark's Caroline Boyer, and for South Africa, that is Catherine Colin, who's currently lying third. The American Casey Armstrong is sitting there in fourth, but Sarah Hill just moving into fourth position. And you can't really put much credence into the positions at the moment because they're riding as one bunch, really.
They certainly are. I would say, keep an eye on Catherine Colin, the South African rider. She was a Zwift Academy finalist. She was riding and training to win a professional contract with Canyon SRAM, a professional women's road team who are in the UCI Women's World Tour. So keep an eye on her. She knows the platform. She knows how to race. And I know she has a fantastic determination to win. As we see the chasing bunch behind Trinity Racing's Turner. For those who haven't heard of Trinity Racing before, it is the former team of former junior world champion and under 23 cyclocross world champion Tom Pidcock. So those standout colours with the pink and blue jersey. But I'd like to see some cohesion between this group now.
Turner. Yep, they're chasing down Turner as we speak. Thank you, Anna. It's so good to have a former professional cyclist and an absolute Google when it comes to virtual racing. Hannah Walker joining us from the UK on the pro commentary here. I'm just here to ask stupid questions as we go back to Turner, who leads, and the bunch is starting to catch with 2,000 meters to go. Now what happens? Are we going to see a couple of Watt bombs being dropped in Wattopia?
Well, we should keep an eye out for when will the first power-up start to be dropped from any of these riders. For Turner now he's been caught, he needs to make sure that he keeps his morale high, that he tries to get into the slipstream of some of these riders just to get a little bit more recovery. He has 1,700 meters to recover, and we see a feather power-up just being used up towards the front there. It's quite early days, but the rider at the front is starting to make some inroads as the group starts to split ever so slightly. Turner is on the right side of the split though.
Turner well positioned there, very well positioned indeed. You can see a lot of the riders wearing the unlocked ASOS jerseys, some of the riders in their team jerseys. So Maria Sank, Casey South, Becking, Boete Skuurmans from Belgium, another one of the countries that is a huge fan of the Absa Cape Epic. Will Paulison is a former winner. And Kevin Vermaak, the founder of the Absa Cape Epic, actually crediting the likes of Christoph Sauser, Paulison, Carl Platt for getting the Absa Cape Epic onto the international map, getting the pro athletes who are used to riding sort of shorter stages, be it marathon or cross country, not really used to stage racing and much longer stages, getting them to come down here and become a part of the Absa Cape Epic. And what's made the Absa Cape Epic just the phenomenon that it is, that has now spawned the Epic series, which we'll tell you a bit more about a little bit later on in the show. But we're into the final couple hundred meters of the virtual Absa Cape Epic here on Zwift. And our pro men are pushing super hard. The watts are being dropped big time. And who will it be over the line? It's still a very, very big bunch, but it's starting to thin out slightly at the front there, Hannah.
Yeah, as we go over that wooden bridge out of the tunnels here, we see a few of the power-ups being dropped, and some of them being dropped too early. But as the sprint to the line with just over 100 meters to go, we see the big sprint to the finish, and close final on there. We'll get confirmation of who took the victory, backing up towards the front for the Netherlands. But what a close finish and exhilarating. We'll get full confirmation of those
like
results.
You said, so very, very close in the men's race. We'll be bringing you the results shortly as we move back to our women's race. And Germany's Elisabeth Brandauer moving to the front again. She doesn't want to be in that bunch when it comes to the finish line. And under the red flag, 1 kilometer to go. Flamme Rouge for Elisabeth Brandauer. She doesn't want a sprint finish. She wants to be out there on her own. And she's pulling away very, very nicely from Caroline Boye, representing Denmark, and Catherine Colin. But you're reckoning Catherine Colin's got a good chance, Hannah?
Well, you can see now that Brandau is 300 meters ahead of Boe. She's 500 meters ahead of Catherine Colin. And as Brandau goes over this wooden bridge, over the water, her lead is looking very convincing indeed with 500 meters to go. What have the other riders got? Boe only 100 meters behind Brandau now. Has Brandau gone early? Has she got a power up her sleeve? What is she going to do? What surprise can she take? And you can see from that finish in the men's, it's an ever so slightly uphill finish. 270 meters remaining. But it looks like Brandau has something left to open up the gap to Boe. 200 meters is the gap, and it doesn't look like Colin will get back on terms. Likewise with Hill as well. But Brandau, the German rider, has got a rider just coming into her sights. What has Boe got left in the tank? She has something to chase, and as the finish line gets closer, it was a clear winner there. Brandau takes the victory there with Danish rider Boe in second.
Well, Brandau with a bronze medal at the European Championship. She's also national champion and a regular at the Absa Cape Epic. A superb win for her, it would appear, at the virtual Absa Cape Epic on Zwift. We've got another little bunch of our pro women on the way through at the moment. Catherine Colin, Caroline Boye, Casey Armstrong, Sarah Hill, Sandra Walter, Laura Stigger, and Ashley Moorman-Passio, all still to get to the finish line. But the finish line beckons, and soon the sweating can stop, although for our professional women, they don't sweat, they glow. And over the line, you talked about Catherine Colin a moment ago. She crosses for the Rainbow Nation flag of South Africa. Great racing amongst our pro women. What an evening we are having here on Zwift.
Well, really a fantastic race, and two very, very different races between our Pro-Am men's race and the Pro-Am women's race. Won very, very differently, but as we said before, we will bring you the men's results very shortly. It was close on the line, but that adds to the excitement, doesn't it, Paul?
It certainly does. And we're going to keep people sitting on the edge of their seats before we bring you the men's results. Here we are in beautiful South America in the Mayan jungle, and that is actually where South America is, where Kevin Vermaak dreamt up creating the Absa Cape Epic. The Absa Cape Epic's become a global phenomenon and has actually spawned the Epic series. We want to show you where mountain biking can take you around the world. Check this out, the Epic Series.
That victory ahead of Spain's Jose Maria Sanchez Ruiz and Denmark's Oliver Veda. Just look, Paul, how close those results were when you look at the times.
Absolutely brilliant racing from all of them. As a South African, yes, I am biased. Good to see two South Africans in the top 10, Wessel Botha and Jacques Janssen van Rensburg. Casey South, Jeffrey Goethals and Carla Freeberg are rounding out our top 10 in the men's race. Hopefully we'll get to chat to the Nederlander Hans Becking shortly, but we do have women's winner representing Germany, winner of the Virtual Absa Cape Epic, Elisabeth Brandau is standing by, and we hope to get a couple of words with Elisabeth. There she is. Hello,
Elizabeth. Congratulations.
I wonder if Elizabeth can hear us. Elizabeth, kannst du uns hören? Well, you know, we're virtually learning that this is how things go in the world. Not everything is perfect, as we know. My goodness, if we haven't had a couple of curveballs thrown to us during the coronavirus pandemic, that's another little one, but we'll get it back on any moment now. Just another confirmation there briefly of the men's results, and hopefully we've got the women's final results board that we can bring up as well. But a brilliant win by Germany's Elisabeth Brandau. I'm going to tell you, look at those waterfalls. Hannah,
she went for the long one.
That's what was dripping off the riders onto the floors of their pain caves.
I certainly think it was. As long as the riders were well ventilated to keep their core body temperature down. But I do think after this race, after such an epic rivalry in the pro-am, women's and men's, that's what it would be like. This waterfall dripping in the Serpentine 8 Watopia course.
Well, I tell you what, Hannah, I'm going to give you a chance now to speak to the men's winner of the Virtual Absa Cape Epic, representing the Netherlands. Hello to Hans Becking and a huge congratulations to you. Hannah, all yours.
Hi Hans, congratulations. How are you feeling? You're looking awfully fresh.
Looks can be deceiving, huh? Well, I'm completely wet from the sweat and the lungs are burning like hell at the moment.
Well, it was a close finish, wasn't it, on the line? There's quite a lot of riders going to the finish. Was the bunch bigger than you expected it to be?
I don't really have so much experience with Zwift races, so I knew I had to start very fast and stay in the binds. And yeah, and the climbs, not so many riders dropped. So yeah, that would be I think it would be a sprint finish with 10 or 15 riders, I think.
tell you
just
something,
said
Hans.
that you don't have so much experience on Zwift. What was your game plan coming into this? Sorry, Paul.
The game plan is go as fast as possible. No, I did some warm up. I even checked the course yesterday, like we should do like professional riders. But yeah, no really game plan. Just go full gas the last 300 meters.
Wel gedaan, Hans. Heel goed vanavond. Incredible to see you race. And now you can basically call yourself a virtual Absa Cape Epic champion. How cool is that?
Yeah, I'm so happy. It's super great to do this period. It's super crazy with the races, and it's very unsure. And I have this victory under my belt, so I'm super happy with that.
I reckon you're in the colours of buff. I reckon all the Spanish riders are going crazy in support of you right now, and super stoked that you took the win.
Yeah, this is also super happy for me because this is new for me, the team, and yeah, it's a victory. So at the moment I'm super happy, and shows I have the confidence in the team, and the team have confidence in me, and yeah, now we're ready set to go for a good season, I hope.
Well, I presume Bart Brenchens and all the other guys are currently on Wikipedia right now and writing Inuel Palmares, champion of the Virtual Cape Epic 2021. Look at you go. Thank you so much, Hans Becking. Great riding today, great riding this evening, and clearly the preparation worked. You know, it's real simple. The only way to win in the virtual world is start hard and finish harder.
It's easy as that, huh?
There we go, Hannah. Brilliant words from our Virtual Absa Cape Epic champion from the Netherlands, Hans Becking. Nice to get to speak to him. And what did you think? Did you think we'd get a fairly newbie on the Zwift platform to go and take the win this evening, Hannah?
Well, I think at the end of this COVID pandemic, with so many people riding and racing on Zwift, so many people have learned how to race on it. So it is quite rare for somebody who hasn't done much on the platform to perform. But of course, Hans Becking's preparation yesterday, even just having a look at the course, having a look at the circuit as you would do in real life, has paid off. And I think his game plan to start hard, finish hard, of course, paid off. He's done 2 Cape Epics in real life, and now he finally has a victory in the Virtual Absa Cape Epic.
Well, Hannah, I seem to think that I don't trust these results because, you know, this might be the virtual world, but virtually we saw Elisabeth Brandau from Germany take the win. Then it looked like Caroline Boy was second, but it looks like Sarah Hill then third and Sandra Walter from Canada taking fourth. That's how I saw it. I don't know what you saw, Hannah, but incredible racing all round. And what a fantastic Virtual Absa Cape Epic.
It's been wonderful, hasn't it? I definitely saw Brandau cross the line first. Another rider who has competed in 2 Absa Cape Epics in real life, and again now taken her first Absa Cape Epic virtual victory. So fantastic for her. She was 5th at the European Cross Country Championships in 2018. It's a shame we can't speak to her and bring the winner to the fans around the world today. However, she won by a clear margin, and both races for the Pro-Am men and Pro-Am women were incredibly exciting. What a platform. We can't bring it to you in real life, but we can bring it to you virtually, and it's been tremendous. I hope you've enjoyed it, Paul, because I certainly have.
Indeed I have. Großartig, Elisabeth Brandau. Congratulations to you. 90 nations represented, and 2 nations in the commentary booth. From the UK, Hannah Walker; from South Africa, myself, Paul Kay. Thank you so much to everybody who participated. Remember that custom Scotch spot, we'll be doing the draw for that at the end of the month. Make sure you keep an eye on your email inboxes. Keep riding, keep joining us on Zwift, and we will see you in October 2021 for the Absa Cape Epic. What we have? Well, we're not saying goodbye. We have Elizabeth. Hey, let's not go anywhere. I mean, this is not TV. We can stay on all night. Hannah, we've got Elizabeth. I don't know, something you said worked. Hallo, Elisabeth. Guten Abend.
Hallo.
Hannah, you got a couple of questions for Elizabeth.
Yeah, Elizabeth, congratulations. I'm so glad we've been able to catch you just at the end of the show there and that we were able to speak to you. Congratulations on your Virtual Absa Cape Epic victory. How was that?
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was a little bit surprising. I didn't know the track, and in the last kilometers, I always thinking pushing, and then it was 2Ks and there was nothing uphill more anymore. So I'm fighting till the end. I didn't, in the beginning, I don't thought that I may be so strong today, but yeah, it's another week and I'm at home. So it's a good evening ride.
Certainly is. Tremendous ride. I mean, you really left the rest of the riders behind. Who were the riders you were watching out for today?
I was still at a training, and I'm trying the first mountain bike the first time to race on Zwift with the mountain biking, and it's good to see how it's working, and it much makes fun as mountain biker to ride there, and it was much more easier than training alone. So racing is always have fun.
Well, congratulations to Elisabeth Brandauer. Großartig, gratuliere. Tolle Leistung heute Abend. What a great race. And great that we get to speak to both our champions. And Elizabeth, I'm going to say this to you because I don't know how often you'll get to hear it, but you are the 2021 Virtual Absa Cape Epic champion. Well, that pretty much wraps it up. Thank you, Elizabeth, for joining us. Yeah, gratuliere. Hannah, thank you to you for all your expert insights on the wonderful Zwift platform and our professional riders. We're going to say goodbye from the virtual world now, and we cannot wait to see you all here in the magnificent Western Cape on the southern tip of this incredible continent, Africa, for the 17th edition in October of the untamed African mountain bike race, the Absa Cape Epic.
And the champagne